105. Without further ado, let's start this. Thank you for. I think everybody was here for all the first modules that we did. So you're already getting points just for returning. So that's great. There's still plenty I want to share with you today. Two key tools that I think you'll find valuable and will either give you a couple new things or again confirm ways you've been already doing business, but we can put now terminology around it and we can describe it a little better so we can either coach it or further our craft. Sounds good? As usual, you can always unmute yourselves. We're just 5 participants today and 3 facilitators. So unmute yourself or type in the chat as you're comfortable. So let's start. This is part 3, even though it's the 4th time we do this. And you'll see I'll black out a little bit and I'll come back. It's because of this beautiful lighting just above me that kind of interacts with the camera in weird ways. So until I'm back at home. So the designer consultant, part 3, the first part. If I go to my next slide, there we go. We started with the no trust, or the seminar was actually called Building Better Relationships. So that was answering the no trust barrier to sale that a client potentially has. So how do I know they can trust you in your company? And then the second module, we did kind of a second part of that one, talking about empathy. But the actual second module was the discovery, asking the right questions was the seminar on this one, and to answer the no need. So yes, I trust you and I trust your company, but I don't feel you have anything, I don't need anything. And then today, what we're doing is answering the third no help. So I trust you and your company. I do have a need for something that you want to offer me, but will any of your recommendations really help? So that's kind of the part where when we talk to clients, if we do a job well, it just flows. But if we need to refine some more techniques, this is where we get a lot of objections. That's where the client might go, well, you know what, I'm not too sure. So we have to craft our segues, because actually everything fits together. We are building a relationship to get them to trust us more and have a great conversation. We've asked good questions. Now here, I need to make sure that whatever I recommend actually fits with their needs or sticks. So how to do that? So today, we'll recognize some of the symptoms of that barrier of no help. We'll get a couple of skills in. And how we'll do it? Well, we'll do a little role play at first, but rest easy. I won't force you to play. I have selected Kaylee to be the good and bad example in this to illustrate the points, but I'll ask you, just like in the previous module, to note a couple of things that she did well or bad. And so we'll explore actually 2 down-to-earth techniques that I love to use to make sure that when I close, it's the easiest part of making the sale. And then at the end of the day, at the end of this module for you, well, you'll recognize that no help barrier a little easier, and you'll be able to better link your recommendations to your client's need, minimizing that potential no help, and hopefully increase your close ratio. Or if you do close already well, maybe close at a higher level of sales and options. Any questions here? Sounds good? We're okay with that? Perfect. Because if you're not, that would imply a lot of changes in my presentation. So moving forward, I've mentioned that, but I just like to put it on screen, my little bubbles. So if I have trust, I do understand as a client that there are needs that need to be met, but am I recommending stuff that actually helps? So if I'm not, no help. One of the problems I've been seeing sometimes in the past, I have not toured enough in your industry to see that, but Kaylee will play the example. I've had people a lot in different industries sell to themselves. They're super energetic, they're super happy, and they have a great personality, but when they propose stuff they would like to buy. And the whole key here is making sure I propose stuff my client wants to buy. Otherwise, I'm selling to myself. So, a little role play here. Ready to get your show on, Kaylee?
Yep, ready. Ready to be bad.
So the first example is kind of a counter example where Kaylee will put in a couple of problematic things in the way she approaches me. So right now, what we're playing is the follow-up to our first meeting in Discovery, where she asked me about my kitchen tastes, which I wanted in the kitchen. So she's taken all of that down. She's been doing a little bit of design work, and now she's coming back to sell me my dream kitchen. So you'll see I'll go either dark if I don't like it, or I'll try to brighten up if it's pretty good.
It looks like you're in mission control. Like there, it's just kind of going like this in the background. It's amazing.
Oh, there we go. I hate this room for that. So please take notes. So Emily, Elena, Amanda, Lisa, and Samantha, take a couple of notes, and afterwards we'll question you. What do you feel she did well, and what do you feel she did not?
And as usual, then Kaylee will give out points.
Yes. And
I feel so rusty, you guys. So, I mean, my normal bad acting skills might be slightly emphasized today, but just hold on for the ride. We're going to get through it. Okay, so Steph's come in for our meeting, and I've got his drawings done. I like to base it on this actual kitchen in front of me, because then it makes sense, and because I'm a visual person. So we'll talk about this in a way. So Steph, thank you for coming in. I've got all your kitchen drawings done. I wanted to show you what I've selected for you for your renovation. You can see we did here a inset shaker door with some nice detail on it. Oh, I can't see the screen anymore.
Oh, you want me to put the screen back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
Do.
There you go.
Thank you. We did this nice shaker door with an interior profile, because this is by far our most popular door in the white color. And then I think what we should do in the off room is an accent in a navy, because that's really popular too. It'll be in a painted maple finish, so you have solid wood, and then some nice accents in glass. What do you think?
It's not bad. One of the things though is that I talked to another dealer, and they can basically do this for about 12,000, and you're coming in about 21.
Well, no, we don't know what they're doing. That's probably not even good quality product.
Okay, but yours is, right?
Yes.
And how is it different?
We just do it better. We manufacture in Canada. We have one of the highest quality products that you can buy, and you definitely don't want to go with those guys.
Okay, well, they seem pretty good, so okay, well, let me think about it, and I'll call you back.
Okay.
You're not
Guys,
calling her back.
This hurts my heart.
He's not calling her back ever.
He's gonna ghost me.
So thank you, Kaylee, for being bad. See, I'm darkening up right now. I didn't like this call. So a couple of things you've noticed. What are things that she did well or did not do well? So Amanda, I see you're unmuted. Maybe you have something to share.
Well, I feel like she didn't do a very good job when you brought up another dealer in, I mean, maybe asking some follow-up questions, or she just like got really defensive and started like insulting them.
Yeah. So she really bad.
Yeah.
Welcome to Tracy. A nice background there, Tracy. Love that San Francisco bridge. So yes, what would have been a better reaction in your mind, Amanda?
Well, whenever this happens to me, because it has happened very recently even, I just always like to ask like if they would mind sharing who the other dealer was, and explain more, just because I'm concerned, like, are we actually comparing apples to apples as far as construction of the cabinetry, quality, that sort of thing, and maybe did they do something different that you would prefer, or like you just have to ask more questions. You can't just say like, well, they're no good, like go with us, we're the best, but you have to justify why.
That's it.
Right?
One of the things is never put down the competition. You can compare facts to facts.
Yeah.
The competition's in business for a reason. They might have had good products. Maybe they're different than mine. And so they have clients that are probably satisfied. See, I'm dark. Nobody's better than Cabico. A good business case, I don't know. So I can't put them down unless I know, and I never put them down, but I want to know why do you like what they're offering and what's different from mine? And that could be for a couple of reasons. If I didn't do a good job in the discovery phase, where I actually, asked you a couple of questions, but went way too crazy on the options that maybe you never asked for, and the other company just gave them the basics, which that's what they wanted. Well, I didn't do a first job in my previous step. I didn't do it properly. So that's one of the big issues. So you get a point, Amanda, for that.
Good.
Any other things other than her reaction to the objection? Any other things you've noted?
I noticed, and I don't know if this is part of it, but when she suggested the other cabinetry in the other room be navy blue, it's really a popular selling color. It didn't really have anything to do with the client.
Yes, you get a point too. So this will be a good seminar. I get excited when people know concepts. Yes, one of the key things we'll talk today about the recommendation is you have to recommend stuff that you know they want. You can't just go for stuff that's popular. If in your discovery phase, and you'll see most of today rests on the previous seminar of the discovery. If you did a really good job of asking the right question, understanding actual needs and their feeling behind those needs, we're able to offer them stuff that they do need. So if you're a master chef and you want special knives, you want to take care of, well, I'll offer you a modification in your drawer to actually store your knives properly. If I understand the style that you want, I'll propose to you the style and colors that you actually want. So we'll learn about a quick technique to make sure that whenever you offer something to the client, you're actually linking it back to something they said they wanted in our previous conversation. Anything else? So points for Amanda, points for Emily. Pretty much covered it. Is there anything else, Kaylee, that you put in that we should have noticed?
Well, I did say white also because it's popular, and I just chose to paint maple for you and not explain anything about those different options. Glass, I was mostly just a raging a-hole, so it's pretty cool.
Kind of selfish, yeah.
One of the other things Kaylee brought up was the way she explained to me the solutions, so or the kitchen that she's providing to me. I don't understand why she's offering A or B. She just is offering A or B, or just justifying because it's popular. So, and you've noticed my reaction. So it's, well, okay, we'll talk about this later, and I'll call you back. So
Yeah.
That's pretty clear flags there that we should be aware of. So if I go into summarizing what Amanda and Emily just shared with us, when I do a recommendation, I want to make sure that my discovery summary was really good. If you remember in the previous webinar, if you weren't there, well, there it is. You used to ask questions after starting your meeting. You'll ask them if I can take a moment to review the points that they had shared with us when we were looking at their needs and wants. And then the second step was to review the gaps and start with a keyword was you mentioned, you wanted. In our conversation, you talked about. So putting any points that we summarize in saying it's not me or my interpretation, here is what you said. And they can correct it if we did interpret it differently. And then we'd move on with asking if it's okay and if we can go to the next steps. So to me, this is the key part. The best way for us to do a great proposal is to start from what you've identified as the gap and what they told us. So when I do meet a client and say, here's the kitchen I would like to offer you, I'll start with the solution summary, which is basically going back to my discovery summary, saying, so, and when we met initially, you mentioned that you love to entertain at home and you have wide open spaces and the kitchen will be facing people, and so you wanted top notch. So we went for white as the main color because that's what you said was the best for you to make it easy to clean, blah, 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 blah. And then you mentioned that you love rift cut oak. So we've put that as accent pieces as we talked initially in your island and on the backsplash of this wall and so on and so forth. So I can start going through the points and say, this is why I have this kitchen. And each of the points that you've mentioned, the key points, are linked to a recommendation I'm doing. And what we'll do basically is when I say, okay, in the kitchen, I've put in two ovens, 2 cabinets to get 2 ovens in there. Well, that will allow you to entertain large groups, as you had mentioned, and be able to cook several things at the same time. So that's a feature benefit. So it explains a little bit about the feature, what they wanted to do, the tasks that they wanted to do in the kitchen. And it's important also to get them a benefit statement. So I'll explain what I'm going to give you, general idea of the kitchen, but I'll go over certain elements with you. Those elements, I'll relate it back to the needs you had mentioned, and I'll explain them saying this is great to hold your kitchen knives and make sure that they don't get damaged, as you wanted to have them really close by so they can make terrific meals. So that's both a feature, and then I moved into a benefit. So what does it do? Why is it good for me? What's in it for me? So that's kind of the way I approach when I offer a solution, technically what it does and what need it answers for you. So it's great to cook several things at the same time and allow you to entertain a large group of people. Feature and benefit. Does that make sense? So I try to always keep that in mind, so I don't always appeal just to the tech stuff, but I make appeals to the need behind it, the emotion behind that the client wanted to have. We're in a very emotional business, so I'll actually go on both sides, make sure that we talk to task or technical, and then benefits, personal, emotional aspects. Pretty simple. Didn't revolutionize the world with this, but I keep that in mind anytime I'm trying to speak, and it actually helps a lot. Sounds good? So what I did, I'll put it on screen, is actually put it in the form of a form that is fillable. Let me open it up. Putting it on screen right now. And I'll also drop it in the chat so you can download it, because we'll do a little exercise with that. First, I'll put it on screen. I'll zoom in a little bit. So basically, really quickly built a recommendation plan or recommend plan. And a couple of points. I always start with a PPP statement. Anybody remembers here what a PPP statement is? That was for a couple of weeks or months ago. Amended, once they're available. What is a PPP statement?
It's where you state your purpose, process, and the payoff of your meeting.
Yes.
Or interaction or whatever.
High five to you. And 2 points. And you'll notice that I always start my any training meeting that takes a little while with a PPP statement: purpose, process, and payoff. So good points for you. So I've put that on the form. Always start your meeting, if I'm meeting the client, to propose to them or recommend to them a beautiful kitchen. I'll start with today. Our meetings was scheduled to make sure that I would have a little bit of time to walk you through this beautiful new kitchen, answer your questions, gives you options. So that's the process. So the first one is the purpose. The second one is the process. It should take, as we mentioned, about 45 minutes a little earlier. And at the end of this, that's my payoff. So at the end of this, hopefully you will have the dream kitchen you want within the budget that you had in mind. So there's many PPP statements. That's just my one here that I decided to wing. And then move to your discovery summary. So that's where you have to have it on hand. You have your questions that you asked, the things that your client mentioned, and can hark it back. So what I did here is give you maybe a little area to write in a solution summary. So the key points of the kitchen. So you have them in mind. You can list them. You might use the sheet while with the client or just as a way to organize your thoughts, whatever you feel comfortable with. But that could be just a little key points here, but or an overview of your key points here. But any specific points that you want to really delve into about, let's say, specific colors, essences, options, cabinetry styles, you can actually list them here. That's why I put the customer discovery right here. So you can put a point of the customer discovery. So so you mentioned that you had a great knife collection that you wanted to take care of and be able to showcase in your kitchen. So strategic proposal solution, that's the specific thing we've included in the kitchen to make that work. What's the maple drawer modification that we had last time? I can't remember.
OP 20? I should know this, but I don't.
It's not
Yeah.
20.
The block with the board on top.
Exactly. So I could put knife block with
It's
maple.
OP 99.
Thank you, Amanda.
I thought it was 41.
I have Spectrum open.
Oh,
It's not
thank
41. It's not 20 and it's not 41, but if she says it's 99, that could be right.
So I would just list my points there. So you mentioned you have a great knife collection that you wanted to take care and showcase. That's why I want to offer you a knife block with maple board. It's keep knives sharp or won't dull them.
Keeps them off the counter because you hate mess.
Exactly.
And if a home intruder comes in, they won't know where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a good selling feature of that, I suppose.
Safety. That's the safety features.
Yeah.
Identify that your client is a little paranoid.
I would buy that.
So this would be an example of how I would write a certain point. So I will, from my own needs, will put, you mentioned you want, so I remember to talk in that manner to the client. So Kaylee, you mentioned that you have a great knife collection that you wanted to showcase or keep in your kitchen. So we've included, or I'm proposing to you, a knife block that is in the drawer on the top left, as you mentioned you were a lefty. And it comes with a great maple board that will keep your knife sharp, out of the way, off the counter, but really close by. So for you, it just makes it a less messy kitchen. You can keep those great knives for much longer because they will be well protected. So what's the solution? Linked to what need they had with the features and benefit statement.
This I love because it's something you all do naturally, but it just kind of puts it in a more linear fashion. Or if on the left side, you're filling this in, okay, what were the main things they went through? And then even just using this a few times to get that statement linked together makes it flow so much more naturally in your console.
Yep. And one of the things I've noticed sometimes with me when I'm approaching clients is I would put a solution here, but I had a hard time linking it back to customer discovery. And this is where I noticed I was selling that part to myself. I put it in there because it was really cool and I was geeking out about it, but nowhere could I really make it clear that it was linked to a client's need. So that's where I take it off. you know, or I'll discover a little bit more if I feel that I need to dig that more. But otherwise, I'll take it off and make it just as what I feel has the strongest bond between the client need and the proposal, or the element of the proposal. Thanks, Kaylee. So does that make sense? Because we'll use that in a moment in the exercise. Any questions on this document? So I've put you a couple of points there. It could be hundreds, it could be 5. You can extend that, left an area for notes if you wanted to key a couple of key aspects there. Any questions? No? Okay, so the exercise. Now I'll need to drop this in the chat. I don't know if Jessica, you had it close by.
What's that?
The document. So otherwise, I'll just remove the points I put in, so I don't.
I'm really just a filler, pretty face here today. I'm not very functional.
You do it so well. Yeah, so I'll drop it in the chat so you have it. Just a moment. Come on, Zoom, play nice with me.
Is it not working?
It's being a little difficult. I'll go to my chat window. There we go. I'll drop it in the chat. There we go. So you should see in the chat, either as a pop-up or if you click at the bottom on the chat button, the document itself. Can someone confirm that they've seen it?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So now the exercise, I'll split you off in small groups again. I love to do that, so make sure that when you're in your small group, you unmute yourself. We'll make it easy. You'll be 2 groups today. We have a fairly small group, and you'll be accompanied by a professional in training, Kaylee and Jessica.
In training.
So I'll be the other professional. And so we'll answer questions if you're stuck and you can't get to find a solution, feature and benefit statement. So that's the SFB statements. So I'd like for you in 2 groups, we'll split you in 2 groups, use this worksheet and just think back to a kitchen you've proposed recently. And it's just to get a little bit of practice in there and going, oh, I had proposed this and I was linked to this need of the client, and write it down. And this is the feature, and this is how it'll benefit the client. So just put in one or 2, really quick, 5 minutes. Any of you can use, we can use one of Elena's ideas she put in the previous kitchen, and then we use one from Emily, just to get a little bit of practice in writing down what I had identified as a need, what I'm recommending to the client, what the feature is, and what's the benefit for that. Sounds good? So I'll split you up. The machine will split you up automatically, or I should say automagically. Let's go.
The machine, the Zoom machine.
Where's my breakout groups button?
Oh,
Oh, Jessica, do you have the breakout groups button?
Oh, look at this. I do, but just hang on and I'll make you
A host?
make host.
Can you guys hear each other through the wall?
No.
Okay, there are the breakout groups. Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
I will split into 2 rooms.
If he spoke louder, we could probably hear each other. But
So in a sec, you'll get an invitation, jump to that room. And as a team, I'll give you 5 minutes, shouldn't be really long. Just practice 1 or 2 of those and find one solution you offered, linked it to a benefit, and write a feature and benefit statement. There you go. You have the invite. Go. Two still in great conversation, so they're not coming back.
They're maybe just wrapping things up.
It's possible. It gives them 60 seconds to come back. So I'll mute for just a sec to remove the background noise, if you don't mind. So we'll see what happens because they're not back, and it's timing them down to 5 seconds. There we go. Hello, breakout room 2.
Hello.
Did I recall you too quickly? Were you involved in great conversations?
Perfect timing.
Excellent. So let's just share a couple of comments that, because we did try it a little bit and we figured out things that worked better. I know Tracy had a great comment. So you mind sharing what you said when we were in the breakout room together about the process of this?
Well, what I said was I really liked how it kept looping back to the client and their requirements. And I think we might do this kind of naturally, but if you do it really specifically, like you tie everything that you're saying kind of back to, again, what their requirements are, they feel like, wow, this person is really listening to me. They really get me. They understand my requirements. So I like that. And I also like the whole discovery summary after you've, had your kind of your initial interview and talked about all their requirements. If you sort of summarize that at the end of the meeting, they'll really feel like, wow, again, this is someone who gets me, understands me, listens to me, rather than, just all about them and their process and their product line and, that kind of thing.
Excellent. You drove all the main points home, Tracy. So you get 3 points. So yeah, it's really all about what you said. It's driving them back to showing you listen to them and that you're there to advise them. But it's all about them. So I won't. You've said it better. I like the way you said it. Any other comments from breakout room 2? Because we had a great conversation in breakout room 1.
Well, we picked our discovery element for us was I had a client that wanted a hidden pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And so the proposed solution was hiding the pantry behind cabinetry doors that were completely paneled to look like the refrigerator that was right next to it. And so that feature was that it was a custom door with mirrored doors and saw kerfs so that it looked like a drawer, but it wasn't.
Okay.
And the benefit would then be that they got their hidden pantry. It looks like a complete freestanding piece of furniture, like an armoire almost. But when they open half of it, it's the kitchen, so that kind of hidden wow factor, or the pantry.
Excellent. Perfect. So simple tool, and like Tracy was saying, you probably do this already naturally. So what I want to bring here is maybe you to reflect on a little bit of that and say, maybe sometimes I don't do it as well as I should. And those are where you can refine that process and know about it. So we're putting words to stuff you're actually doing normally to refine that process and go that 10% further and catch yourself in these, and then get those clients even more enamored with your approach and style. Sounds good? Excellent. So second tool I want to share with you. Let's go back to the screen here. Objections. So when you propose something to the client, sometimes they'll object to it. Anyone can share a typical objection that they get. Some things that you might hear more than others when you propose something to a client.
Maybe open glass cabinets. They might say, oh, I have too many kids and my place is a mess. I'd rather just be closed. And then we could propose a different solution like mirror instead, or,
What I want to bring as a concept here is, to me, an objection is 2 things. It's really just an unanswered question and a little bit of relationship tension. Because people will clam up, feel bad, but they'll say, well, you know what, not too sure about this, because depending on their style, it's like, no, I don't want glass. Glass it'll break. I have families of fingers in there. I don't want that. But there's a little bit of tension there. So when I get an objection, the two things I need to do is manage the tension and understand the underlying question or concern. And that's my way to, I see this as doing basically jujitsu with somebody's objection. I use their objection and understand it to be able to manage it and propose or modify my proposal. But I'll always look at it not as a problem, but a potential solution or a concern I have not noticed before that I need to notice now and manage. So, when we did that little role play with Kaylee, my objection was on price, right? Because I'm thinking that might be another common objection that we get here now and then. So Kaylee was proposing a kitchen that was about $21,000 out of my $30,000 budget. But then I went to somewhere else and they're proposing something that I feel is similar for $12,000. So we have let's say use two examples, this one and Emily's one. So I'll start with Emily's. If we look at it with this little model that I'm sharing with you, do you have in mind a client that had that objection or that mentioned that weren't sure about going with the glass windows?
Yeah, I could think about a client that's happened.
And if I were to ask you, what was the concern behind that? Why? What was because the objection might come out in certain ways, like that's too tough. But what do you feel is under that? Why would a client not want that window? Because if you put it in there, probably they said that they wanted something that would showcase or be open or stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so they wanted some display area, but it was too much essentially. I think it was probably too much display area and or maybe organization was behind them. So they didn't feel like it gave them that sense of organization when you can see everything kind of jumbled.
So if I understand correctly, the concern for them was to, yes, have some open spaces, but also be fairly organized, even though they have some window cabinetry.
Yeah.
Okay. And was there any tension? Do you feel that the tension rose when they objected? Because sometimes there might be very low tension. It can be, well, you know what, I don't, did you feel there was a little bit more tension?
It wasn't that bad. I didn't feel like there was too much tension. And I was able to combat that with some alternate ideas and solutions. So
cool. One of the examples I wanted to give you too was the one that we used a little earlier with Kaylee about the price. So if we go back to that, and Kaylee was saying, and so we're really close to, we're actually under your budget that you had of 30,000. We're at 21. And how does that sound? And I was, well, you know what? I went to another guy and it was about $12,000. And she moved immediately to, what did you say afterwards?
They're garbage, don't buy it.
So the worst possible way of doing it. So you were great in that. How could we manage it differently? First, I'll always try to manage tension. In this case, we had a little bit of tension. I kind of went, ugh, and pulled off. It was not aggressive, but I just pulled away. I didn't like that where it was going. So definitely there was relationship tension. So how do I manage that? Because it's hard to go and find out what's wrong if we don't manage the tension first. If there's no tension, great, just ask and go and probe and adjust. But if there is tension, we need to manage it. So how do we manage it, Kaylee?
We're going to go back to relating. So this is something where when Steph and I were going through this, and I was like, this was 100% my worst point of this whole process dealing with clients, because the tension is so high for the designer too, because you've been working on this for days, weeks, months, who knows? And then it almost feels like a bit of a stab in the heart because they come to you and they're like, oh, well, this guy's they take all your work and he's going to do it for this. So the hardest part for me is taking that, setting it aside, and trying to understand, like relating to them to get them to open up to you. So to take it and say, you know, this is totally normal in this space. You could have it, you could double the price. It depends what you're putting in there. And then to ask, is it okay with you if we review what they're supplying to you? And then we can find out the best thing for you based on what we've talked about. And by all means, if that's a better fit, we're not going to stand in the way. I just want to make sure that we have that understanding, or, you know, something like that. Bit of a different approach rather than, even if you know that supplier is garbage, it just looks bad to jump right to that.
You can't say it. Even if you're thinking it, there are certain things that you just can't say.
Yes, that's it. One of the things I try to do when I want to manage tension is recognize that the concern the client has is valid. So, and not what I've seen too often is people go about that kitchen, maybe not in a bad way, Kaylee, you went about it and said, but you know what, I can talk to you about the value of our kitchen and why we put these options in that will make it last much longer, that will require much less maintenance, and that's much sturdier in the type of family you have. But if that could be too quick, because then you might get into a tension fight where the person's still tense a little bit and you're trying to convince them, but they're not ready to be convinced. I don't know if you had that situation at home where you come back from a hard day's work and it was clearly identified on the fridge that it was your significant other's turn to wash the dishes. But it's not done. You come in, they feel like crap, you feel like crap, and you go, wait, how come the dishes aren't done? So what do you mean the dishes? 2 months ago, we were supposed to do this, and then we just tense up. So we just want to not get into a fight. So I'll just recognize your point. So if a client comes to me with this situation of price point, I'll go, you know what? I've had other clients in the past that had a similar concern to yours, where they want to make sure they have the best value for the investment they put in their kitchen. And what the other has proposed to you may be valid. There might be some points in there that can speak to you. So what I'd like to do is just investigate the difference between our proposal and theirs and see what we can make happen to make sure that it fits your needs as well as your budget. So I'll try to manage the tension that way. And the first thing is, when I use that, I have other clients that has that. It's kind of a third party saying, you're not alone. It's okay to feel that way. And we'll work through this together. That's basically it. But I'll manage that tension before starting to probe. And then I'll go, okay, you want to share with me a little bit about what they offer? Because maybe there's different features. Maybe there's different construction of the boxes where we're a little more high quality. So if you need to make trade-offs, there's possibilities here. But let's explore it. And let's make sure to, one of the other strategies I can use is, if you really want to go with the other, here's a couple of questions you should ask them to make sure that you will have the value for your money. So ask them about box construction. Is it plywood? Is it MDF? Ask them about the type of, the grade of the MDF that they're using. What's the type of hinge that they're using into, and the type of drawer constructions. So even if the client, I'll just say, I'll equip you to go speak to the other one, because I am a trusted advisor. At the end of the day, I would love for you to buy a kitchen from me, but it's more important that you get value for your money. And I'm pretty sure I can do it, but it's possible that the others, and I've seen this in the past, it's not all the time, but I've seen this where the client actually went to the other provider and came a week later and said, you know what, I want to go with you. So we kind of equip the client with the right questions and say, go free. And some of them came back and said, well, you know what? I felt you never pressured me. You gave me the right questions to ask. And I was able to compare apple to apples because of the questions you equipped me with. And I feel you're the better fit. So that's how I try to manage objections. So relieve that pressure if there's any pressure, explore, and uncover that hidden concern. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's not hidden. But to me, somebody that's arguing on price is probably a value concern. They feel that I might be proposing high price stuff that is not related to their need. But if I did a good discovery and I'm pitching the right way, that should happen less. Sounds good? Any questions about this process? Does that make sense to view this as a unanswered question, concern, and tension? Yes, no?
I think that answers it. To me, that's the number one most tense thing that comes up. So that's why I was like, let's just go right into this. But
And if if you get an objection like that, maybe the only thing to work before getting your answers, maybe use a little phrase to say, you know what, I've had, and I don't want to make it worse. There's a lot of clients that have mentioned this to me in the past. It's like, no, okay, I'm selling high. But I'll go, you know what, there's a couple of clients that had the similar concerns as you.
literally everyone says we're too expensive.
That's it. But that
Yeah.
means, yeah, literally everyone is saying we're too expensive. But you know what? It's true. But let me show you why. So that's the twist. I used to really probe well in the past, but I did not always manage a little bit of that tension or make that client feel at ease with bringing an objection and just seeing it as a concern more than a problem. Any questions up to now? Okay, so I'll move forward. That's
Stefan, I
basically.
can't see your screen.
Oh, is it off? Let me
Yes.
check. Oh, yes, it is. So, thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
So now you should see it.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, what we're saying here by viewing a question, I'll go to the previous screen here if it allows me. There we go. An objection is just an unanswered question intention. So I will first listen and share, manage that relationship tension, try to understand. Then I'll clarify. I'll try to seek the concern or the question that underlies it, and then I'll just problem solve. Let's look at the different issues that you're going through, and we will look at how we can either reduce cost or make adjustments to your different cabinet styles to reduce maybe the amount of windows and keep those in strategic places where you want to showcase stuff. And then I'll ask for action. So does this new modification or this clarification make sense to you? Perfect, and we'll move on. So it's technically called, because a lot of people like acronyms, the LSCPA. I'm not a big fan of that acronym because it's hard to remember. It doesn't have a ring to it. But that's why that's my model of that official way of managing an objection, is just seeing question, intention, and manage both. So now we kind of did it as we were explaining, because I had a little exercise to list some common objections. Anybody else here? Because we used Emily's objections. Any other one of you that have objections that they feel is harder for them to overcome that you want to share? That you felt ill-equipped, uneasy managing? No? Yes, Kaylee?
Oh, I was just gonna ask how you find dealing with lead time sometimes, because to me it's always price would be the most, and then second would be why does this take 10 weeks? Why does this, I can go to IKEA and buy something off the shelf. But I don't know if that's another common one you guys get.
Actually, I was thinking as Stefan was talking, he was describing exactly a situation I'm dealing with currently with people who are building a new home, and their builder typically uses this other company in town, but they didn't have an awesome interaction with the person they met there. So they decided to shop around, and they were like, we love your design and you really understood what we wanted, but you're just like too high. So they are working with me to like get it to where they need to be. But then lead time with another contractor I work with is always an issue. And I have to always remind them, like, well, they are like built to order. You know, they're semi-custom cabinetry. It's not, you know, the parts and pieces aren't just sitting on the shelf, because every cabinet literally that comes in is different. So there's, you know, time to process the order, time to put it through the factory, time to ship it here. So I'm always reminding them, like, cabinets don't just come in a week. They're not just sitting there waiting for you. But there are places you can go get those cabinets, but that's not what you want. So yeah, that is a big objection.
And that's pretty cool that you brought that up, Amanda, because again, the stance you're taking here is that options are available if you want them faster, but you will get the type of cabinets and the quality of cabinets that come with this faster lead time
Yeah.
versus the custom cabinetry that you desire. And why I'm asking if you have like harder to overcome objections, if that ever comes up, one thing I love to do with my teams is if ever you find an objection that you are uncomfortable with, bring it to the team and we'll work on that unanswered question and managing tension together. So one of the key points, the human aspect is about managing tension, but there's a technical aspect to it. Sometimes I'm technically uncomfortable because I have a hard time explaining the lead times. So if I have a hard time explaining the lead times, then that's where the strength of the team, if somebody asks, oh yeah, well, I explained to them a little bit more about the process, since it's custom, there's a little bit of time to make sure that the drawings are exact, the dimension fits well, because if they see a problem, they'll relate it back to us before building the cabinet, so we make sure that we build it right. And then when they start the process, everything's done from start to finish from order. So that takes a little bit of time too to make sure that we get everything different. All cabinets, especially in Elmwood, they're all different. They all have their own specifications. So that to make sure that we deliver that high quality, you require a little bit more lead time to do that. So especially if it's an end client, I'll go that way. If it's a builder, I might go more about the consistency of the lead times. So, because the builder will probably be a little bit more understanding about the delay, but he'll hate if it's not consistent from one job to another. When one job is 6 weeks, the other job is 10 weeks, they have to plan everything. So I'll find different ways of uncovering the question. I've seen up to now that builders, their concern is more about the consistency of the lead times. So I have to reassure them on that. If the lead times are maybe a little higher than other lines or other products, if that's the case. So you bring in an excellent point. But I'd love to do this objection handling as a team activity. So here's the top 3 I had that I would like to refine or I have a trouble with, and let's work on them as a group and then try them out and refine and refine. So it makes us even better at managing that or that tension aspect or that technical aspect. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Amanda.
No problem.
Any other objections, questions? No? Excellent. You're a great group, and we're close to the end. One of the last things I want to show to you is once we've done everything, sometimes I've had designers and people in sales that are a little bit more reserved, a little bit more shy, and they have a hard time just asking for the close. So you've shown everything, and you've talked about the budget, and everything seems fine. And you kind of go, so this is the whole project. And you're waiting and you're hoping they go, okay, cool, where do I sign? But that never comes. So one of the ways I go about it is just to have assumptive close techniques. So it's just about if you've done a great job building relationship, if you've done a great job understanding their needs with the discovery part, if you've done a good job of linking your recommendation to the discovery, and they've said yes most times, and the small objections are actually corrections, then there's no reason not to go ahead. So you kind of have 2 ways to go about it. Either go for options. So now that everything seems to fit your needs, how about we go for plan A or plan B? So that kitchen with this island here and there, or do you want to go with the one with a little bit more options? So that's one of the ways I will ask for the close or move forward and let the client decide from A or B. Or if there's no A or B, because we kind of settled it as we were going organically, I will go for natural next steps. So knowing that they're happy with the design, we've made the modifications. So perfect. At this point, Elena, I would be ready to talk about the contract and how we move forward on the contract. So can I go with you through the steps of the contract? Okay, go. Okay, so these are the terms and conditions. We will require a deposit for that if it's not already done, or we require these terms to be able to pay. We'll schedule the installation for in X amount of weeks, because that's where you said you wanted it. Does that still work? So I'll just assume things are going well and move to the next steps that are coming. And if I did a good job of discovery, a building relationship and recommendation, then it just flows. And that's literally the easiest part if we do a good job as consultants. So there's not much to tell you here. It's just that kind of two ways to see that. Either I'll give you options to you to choose from to go forward, or I'll just move on to the next natural steps. Any questions or concerns or stuff you're uncomfortable with this? No? It makes sense. There's other techniques, but those are kind of the big ones that tend to come up more and more often, especially in our industry. Cool. So that's pretty much it.